Welcome back to Podiatry Marketing. I'm Jim McDannald here with my co-host Tyson Franklin. Tyson, how's it going today?
It is really good, Jim. It's like I always tell you, warm in Cairns, a little bit warmer than where you are in
Exactly.
Canada.
You're always going to beat me in that game. So no worries.
I think, yeah, I think all year round I'll pretty well beat you in that game. Even our winter, I think, is warmer than probably your
Yeah,
summer.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised when it comes to that. But how about you fill in the folks today, kind of what we're going to be discussing and kind of the direction we're going to take them today?
Oh, so this episode number 5, we're going to talk about an idea that I've seen similar things in other places. Everyone knows what a matrix is. So what we're going to talk about is a content matrix. And it's looking at all the things you do and then also all the places you can market it. And when you put it, across the top, the places where you can market it and all the things you do along the side, and then you try and line them up, what is going to work best on what platform or what type of way of
Yeah,
marketing.
so I'm curious to hear kind of like how you started off with this idea, and obviously, being a practice yourself, it probably came in handy back in the day. But just can you fill us in a little bit about how you kind of came up with this idea?
Well, I'd love to say that I did do this when I had my practice 5 years ago. I wish I had have done this 5 years ago. I'd done something similar, but not to the same sort of detail. So because I've been doing coaching with one-on-one with a lot of people, this idea sort of adapted and evolved from that. So on a previous episode, we were talking about what you love doing in podiatry. So this is sort of like looking at your services and sort of looking at all the things you do and putting them in order of what you like doing as well. But then when you look at all the different platforms, and it sort of came about because sometimes a podiatrist will go, oh, I need to be on Instagram, or I need to be doing this because they see everybody else doing it. But is that really the best platform for you with the type of services that you offer? Because not every podiatrist offers the same services.
I think that's a really good point. And not every podiatrist is going to be treating the exact same kind of patient demographic, right? There's not a lot of probably senior citizens on TikTok. So if you're willing to, work with an older generation of folks, yeah, exactly. I don't know. There's some grandmas on there. I'm not going to lie. There's probably, you probably go viral if you're the right age and you're able to, shake it the right way. But at the same time, like, I think you bring up a good point. Like these different people kind of congregate in different areas, and how do you get in front of those, right patients from a demographic standpoint or from a specific kind of diagnosis procedure side of things can be make a huge impact on your practice.
Yeah, well, even if you just think social media, I was listening to a podcast one day and there was a builder on there and has his own building business. And someone mentioned something about TikTok and he says, oh, I don't want to stand there doing all these silly dances. And they go, oh, no, it's not all about that. You can just do these short, like information videos. So he started doing something about what you can do with a hammer. And he just started doing all these like crazy little videos. And next thing, he had a couple of 100,000 people following him on TikTok. And he said the amount of business he generated from that was incredible. So initially he thought, no, TikTok wouldn't be a good platform for him. But I've seen some podiatrists do it well. I've seen some podiatrists do it embarrassingly bad.
Yeah, I guess it's trying to know what you want to get out of it before kind of like starting on a channel, or, like what are you trying to go for? How do you want to position your expertise in a way that'll, gather awareness and kind of gain more notoriety for the type of care you want to provide?
Yeah. So you might look at something like, let's think of a basic service that nearly everybody does. Might be Shockwave, for example. Say you've got the Shockwave machine. Now, where is going to be the best place when you look at that particular service and the things that it can treat? When you look at all the different social media platforms and other ways of marketing your business, the 6 pillars of marketing, which is the best platform to put that on? So is it YouTube? Should you be posting something on Facebook? Is it Instagram? But one thing I think people make a mistake is they try and be on too many platforms and they don't have time. They don't have the time to do it right. So they try and be on 6 different platforms, whereas you go, well, maybe you should be on 2 and do them really well, and then pick which services that you do are going to match the best platform or marketing pillar.
No, definitely. I think you make a good point there. I think people feel like they need to be everywhere doing everything, but obviously time is a scarce resource, and outsourcing
Yeah.
some of this can be difficult to get the messaging right on the mark. But I think one area you brought up multiple times with me, and I think it definitely is, while I skew more to the digital side, is just that go where those patients are, and don't forget about those traditional kind of shoe leather marketing channels, because people that need, foot and ankle care services have a, wide variety of, places where they're at, whether it is on social, that can be a huge thing, but also out in the real world, or even old school traditional publications at times.
Yeah. Well, a perfect example, I'll stick with Shockwave, is you could do a video of you doing Shockwave on somebody. Now, Shockwave is boring live, let alone watching Shockwave on a video. So is that the best service to be, if you were trying to promote it? You might put something on YouTube or something on Instagram or Facebook, but it's not the most exciting visual thing to be watching. It's boring. However, we took our Shockwave unit and we did the rounds going to see a lot of doctor surgeries who we were getting referrals from. And we showed them what the Shockwave was and how it worked and the percussion effect. And we got so many more referrals from that than we did from anything else that we did about Shockwave. So it was purely using it as a demonstration. So if we were then doing at an expo or something and you had a display set up, having the Shockwave unit there and showing people how it worked was by far the best way to market that particular service. So when you look at it on the matrix, we could have Shockwave on the list coming down. And when we go across, expos, demonstrations, one-on-one face meetings was the best way to actually market it. So that's sort of how the matrix
No, that
works.
totally makes sense. And I think you bring up a really good point. I think a lot of podiatrists, or even sometimes I get focused in on like, okay, the way to get more patients is to get right in front of those specific people, those patients. But there is other layers to explore, and opportunities to, provide value, provide education to other kind of what I call like kind of partners, or more like kind of these kind of connectors in a way, right? So whether that's other clinics, whether that's other healthcare providers, whether that's like you want to treat more runners and going to a running shoe store, like getting in good or showing value and providing helpful information, education to these people that
definitely.
can kind of help you like exponentially get in front of more people, as opposed to like, building a brick by brick or one person at a time, which can sometimes feel like either expensive or a bit of a, difficult from a time management perspective.
Well, the good part is when you're looking at it as a visual diagram, like the matrix, and you have, well, stick with Shockwave, you've got Shockwave down there, and then across the top, you've got all the different ways that you can actually promote Shockwave through the social media platforms, old school marketing. And what is you keep testing which ones. And as you test them, if you go, wow, did a couple of videos on Shockwave, did nothing. How much time did it cost us to record it, put it up there? Yeah. Was it worthwhile? So then you might cross out that YouTube is not the platform for that, or that one particular service. And then you just keep testing things. And once you find the ones that work, you go, okay, Shockwave, face-to-face. So, and then you might go, for example, you might have the services you offer, but then you might have the type of patients that you want to see as well. More running patients. Where's the best place to get more running patients? Like you said, you would go out to a shoe shop, be at weekend running events. So these are all the things that you're trying to line things up. And the more often you do it and the more mistakes you made, the better you get, until eventually you can look at your matrix and everything's already mapped out for you. When you're trying to think of what are we going to do this year, you can use that to help set your planning up.
No, that totally makes sense. And not to totally sidetrack the conversation, but like every time I'm hearing you say the word matrix, I'm kind of curious in the back of my mind whether or not this new Keanu Reeves movie is any good or not. I mean, it's one of those things.
I know, I've been thinking that too. I've seen it, like the Matrix. I like Keanu Reeves. I don't know. I just like his mannerism in movies. I've got the 3 Matrix movies here at home, but I just noticed that they're on Binge as well. It's one of the streaming platforms. So I want to watch the 3 movies again before, I think the 4th one came out in December.
I think it's out now.
Out on the 22nd December.
But this is not a plug for Keanu or the Matrix movie, but I just wanted to note that when you're saying that, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, is that new one going to be any good? But
I know. I'm really concerned that I don't think they'd release it if it was going to be. I don't think Keanu Reeves would do it if it wasn't going to be a good movie.
yeah, I'm hopeful, but I guess we'll have to find that out. But
People will listen to this and go, "Wow, it's now a movie review."
exactly.
But I don't think you can see the word Matrix without thinking of the
No,
Matrix.
for sure. But speaking of your Matrix, not Keanu's, like
Yeah,
how do you
yeah,
you think, people in our audience, like what's a good way to kind of like get started? Obviously, you kind of talked a little bit about like focusing on those things you want to do or the demographic of patients you want to help. But like, as far as kind of like getting initiated into doing something in their own practice, you said, testing a little bit, but do you have any other specific examples about
yeah.
how you think things should be rolled out?
Yeah, well, I think right now you sit down and you work at what do you already do? What are you currently doing? So get that on paper. What services do you have, or skills that you offer, or type of patients that you want? Write them all down, and then look at where are you currently promoting that service or that type of treatment, and that'll give you an idea of what you're already doing. And now think, is it working? So whatever it is that you're doing, you may have been, say, Instagram, for example. I know a lot of people spend a lot of time on Instagram creating movies and diagrams and things flashing up on the screen, and they're putting on Instagram all the time. But when I have a look at their followers, the numbers aren't really that high. And when you have a look at all the people that actually engage and like what they're putting out there, 80% of them are usually other podiatrists or friends. So they're thinking, is it having the impact? Now, if they're going, oh, yes, I put so many hours a week into doing this, and we know that we get so many new patients every month from those things, then keep it on your matrix. But if it's not working, then put less time into it and maybe put your time somewhere else for whatever that service
No, that,
was.
that totally makes sense. I think one of the tough things, when and I can remember being in practice myself, is that like, the patients in front of us, we're doing those things, we're doing the notes, we're billing, all those kind of things. But like how to kind of create, metrics around, I think that's a huge component of it is like, whether it's outsourced or doing, someone's doing it in-house in a clinic, from the marketing
Yeah.
perspective, like having some kind of like key performance indicators, some KPIs that are checked on a consistent basis over a few months. Cause I think, there's going to be ups and downs with no matter what kind of platform you're using. So it's really kind of like trying to follow trends with some of these things, whether it's like how many dollars did it cost to acquire a new patient on a certain channel, or like you talked about, like, are we experiencing growth in our Facebook page? And I know like from an organic standpoint, because I think that's one thing that I've found with some people is that they're on these channels because they feel like they need to, or like other people are doing them. But even, like you said, the effort to like effort or money towards like actual benefits is like way skewed towards like way too much money for not enough output. But it's like a
Yeah.
matter of like, if it's not working, having someone to bounce ideas off of or figure out if it's not working in this certain thread, like how are ways to change it to try to get more engagement or more, benefit from some of those channels before moving on. Cause I think, like you said, if it's not working, you need, find it what is, but, until you can measure it on a consistent basis, sometimes it can seem a little like, like boxing in the dark or throwing, darts blindfold. It's like, how do I measure this? Like if I'm not a marketing specialist. I don't know. Like, I feel like I should be doing these things, but I can't tell if it's working or not. Cause I think that's, and you're not always getting clear metrics, or clinical results are not always being tied to some of these marketing efforts. And that's what sometimes makes it a bit of a gray area for people in practice.
Yeah. One thing that just popped in my head. Have you ever watched Blindfold
I have
Boxing?
not seen blindfold boxing, but I just kind of threw that out
It
there.
is it is so funny. They put blindfolds on two people. They put them in the ring. They ding the bell, and they're both just walking around like just throwing haymakers because they don't know where they're. And then what's really funny, then they slow down a little bit because they're wearing themselves out, and then all of a sudden they engage. Where all of a sudden they touch each other, and my God, it's like rock and sock 'em robots. Where the punches go, and then they sort of break apart and they can't find each other again. So yeah, that's really funny. But getting back to what you said, other than if you've got to watch
I'm going to look it on
blindfolded
YouTube right
boxing,
after we get off this call.
yeah, is like you said, sometimes people just need help to do this. And and they need a way of measuring what they're doing to see what sort of results that they're getting. I think it's Peter Drucker says, if you can't measure it, don't do it. And what he's saying is, if you're doing something, you can't measure the results from it, then maybe it's something that you shouldn't be doing. You should be doing something else where you can measure results. So like you help people do the Google stuff, do all the Google advertise Google stuff.
No, I know what you mean.
You help people like that online side of things. And that's why I reckon if people don't have time to do marketing for the business, then they need to engage with somebody to help them in certain areas. It just makes sense to do it.
Either getting help or just like learning about these channels kind of one at a time, as opposed to like spreading their time and efforts over, like you said, like 5 or 10, still feeling lost about not knowing how they work. Obviously, we're trained to be foot and ankle specialists and not necessarily, internet marketing gurus or, traditional media savvy folks. But so it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of like how to best allocate that scarce resource known as time to kind of benefit the clinic and kind of build that ideal practice that's in line with your values, but also, providing a huge benefit to your local community and the patients you treat.
Yeah, but it's getting experience from other people. So one of my coaching clients recently, over the last 12 months, from where they were to where they are now, the business had like a $350,000 increase in the 1 year. Just tweaking a couple of things. They already had a good business, but it was just took it up to another level. And I remember reading somewhere once, and someone was complaining, oh, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. I think it's in a song as well. And this person said, you could grab all the wealth in the world, divide it evenly between everybody, to the person living on the street, to the really richest guy. Everyone gets the same amount of money. He said, in 10 years' time, the rich will be rich and the poor will be poor. He said, because you can take all the money off of, and when I'm talking to a rich person, I'm not talking just money. You can take everything off of a rich person, and they will make it back again because they know how to do it. So it's no different to me. I could set a podiatry clinic up tomorrow, and because I've done it so many times, I just know what to do. Whereas if someone's got a business and they're so busy just being a podiatrist and they don't have time, like you said, they've either got to go and learn it one by one and just get the experience in doing it, or ask for help.
No, for sure.
So yeah, I want to be
it was a good point.
But that's all right. Well, it is. It's one of those things, like you said, was great, is pick one platform and learn it and get good at it. And does that fit in on your matrix? Does it going to fit in? What services are going to work with? And then, because for example, you might have certain things you're going to do, and audio could be one of those marketing things across the top. What do you do that would match with audio really well?
No, 100%. That's a huge platform. And I think it's also a matter of like, if people do engage with outside sources or providers, it's totally okay to ask for something like an audit, to like, get to know those folks, or, be kind of a first step. Because I think, even if you feel like you have your marketing completely figured out and it's rolling, it's a kind of a constantly changing ecosystem of like opportunities. For example, like Google Ads used to be able to kind of like measure very closely a click to like when someone scheduled an appointment. But now with kind of browser, different privacy policies, which can be a good thing, that ability to kind of attribute a click to a new patient appointment is not that kind of same clear path. So like, a lot of the things that help us make, good financial decisions in marketing are get a little bit more murky because of privacy concerns for good reason. So like, it can be sometimes a little tough to nail down, specifics, but when you have kind of an outside perspective about where an industry is going, or some new ways to try to, get the care you provide in front of the right eyeballs, it's a matter of just kind of constant experimentation and testing. Like you talked about, trying some different stuff along the way, not having to do all the things at once, but just getting familiar with what's all out there, either yourself or with the help of others, will just really help you, like I said, build that kind of ideal practice down the road. It's not, no one's going to get all figured out tomorrow. It's a matter of continuous learning in life, right?
Yeah. And when you said about, you got to try things out and test the waters. And that's where I think drawing it all out in like a diagram and a matrix sort of diagram, like I said, it'll show you what you're doing right now. You might find, yeah, well, what I'm doing right now is not working. So keep adding things to the matrix. And so you've got a visual idea of maybe what you've done in the past. And if you want to, you can do it as a spreadsheet. You could color code red, bad. We've done that, didn't work. And sometimes it's not always a bad idea. It could be you've got a good idea, but you've chosen the wrong platform to put it on. Like what I said right at the beginning about Shockwave, to put Shockwave on your YouTube video would be simply boring, unless you're talking over the top and explaining what it is that you're doing. But just to see Shockwave puts me to sleep. But so therefore you might go YouTube, you make that red, not a great platform, but face-to-face, whether it's a meeting or an expo or a display, works well. So that's green. And as the years go on, your knowledge will get better and better. So down the track, you go to open up a second, third clinic, fourth clinic, 10th clinic. You go to your matrix and you just keep repeating what you've already learned.
No, 100%. Even though there's change, there's certain things that, kind of last the test of time. So I think that's a great point to bring up.
Oh, I definitely think things are constantly changing. And I think back to podiatry 10 years ago to now, just how much it has changed. So I can just imagine what it's going to be like in the next 10 years. But the things that don't change, there's people out there who are asking questions every single day. I have this problem. How can I fix it? And you've got to be able to get your skill and expertise in front of them some way, whether it's an online platform, whether it's old school, whether it's face-to-face. That will never change. So regardless of all the other changes that go on, that won't change.
And when you're providing great care, I think that just, that's something that's going to spread both kind of on a old school and a digital word of mouth.
Oh,
like
yeah.
There's, it's a great flywheel, but you have to kind of get that flywheel started.
So, and the final thing I just want to say is, regardless of what we've spoken about in the past or what we're going to talk about in the future, still, it's really important to remember you're clinically, you're going to be good. If someone that does, you might think, oh, the guy down the road, he's a terrible podiatrist. He's awful. He should be arrested. Shouldn't be allowed to work. If he's that bad, the public will find out. So don't worry about him. Always just focus on what you're doing, your own clinical skills, your own business, and just keep getting better at marketing as time goes on.
That's sound advice. I really resonate with that. So, yeah, so this is a fun kind of dive into your content matrix there, Neo. So,
yeah. So yes, and then in a future episode, we'll report back on what we thought of the movie once we both see it. So, Jim, that's been fun.
Yeah, great talking with you as well, Tyson.